Welcome to the Sales Whisper Podcast, session 21. Are you on fire? Hey everybody, welcome to the 21st edition of the Sales Whisper Podcast. You know, it's really weird. I never know whether to say good morning, good afternoon. Obviously, people will listen to this at all times of the day and night, but when I'm recording it, I feel like that's the way I should greet. This time I'm recording this later in the evening than I normally do. It's been one of those days. It's been one of those weeks. It's actually been a pretty good week, but busy. Today had a little technology problem as I recorded this. I hope and pray for the last time I'll have this issue, and all I can think about or figure it's happening is simply unplugging and replugging this microphone into the back of my computer, but it records me like I've got this deep voice. I don't know, drinking cough syrup. But John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire, came through just fine. And you know what? The show must go on. And hey, I am like you, making things happen, juggling 6.5 kids, although not too many people have 6.5 kids. But good grief, the things we have to do. The office is coming along. The crew is kicking. New projects are coming in, working on my next book, building a business, putting out this podcast. Hey, sometimes technology gets in the way. But still, I think this is a great interview with John. You're going to appreciate the way he just took action. He is a military man like myself, had success in the commercial sector, was not completely satisfied with what he was doing, and he launched Entrepreneur on Fire. So without further ado, here's my interview with John Lee Dumas. Wait, I got to whisper. John Lee Dumas. What is it? I'm ready to ignite. Welcome to the show.
You are prepared to ignite, Wes.
I'm prepared to ignite. All right. Hey everybody, we got John here. We were talking about. He calls me and he starts whispering, but his tag. I'm prepared to ignite. So during this 30 minutes or hour, however long we go, we will come with a tagline that people must say when they call and greet me. Deal?
I love it.
All right. Well, hey. So thanks for taking the time. You know, for those that may not know you, it's an interesting world. You are just an hour from, about an hour north of you. I'm up in Temecula, down in San Diego. You have a very successful dog business is booming. But I'd never heard of you until we had lunch 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks. And I say that to encourage others. You know, we think, it's already been done, or maybe the industry is crowded, but it's not, right? I mean, we were there with
Amy Porterfield.
I mean, a lot of people doing big things, and yet we still don't know each other. So would you say that the market is crowded and saturated, or is there tons of room to grow?
There's just a ton of space out there, Wes, and when people see others doing things that they're really interested in, that's just a proof of concept. That should be their green light to dive into it, because that is a proven concept now, a proven model, and now make it your own. Be different, bring in your personality, and go for it. I wasn't the first person to start interviewing entrepreneurs for a podcast, but I've risen to prominence because I gave my little twist to it, and others can do the same.
Right. I love it. And, I was reading your background. You and I have some similarities. You're in the Army. I was in the Air Force, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did a little time overseas. I was in Korea for a year, and then I had two pretty cushy tours in the Middle East. I was in Abu Dhabi after the shooting was done, but it's still interesting living around the world, wouldn't you say?
For sure. Definitely brought a different perspective to my life and to my entrepreneurial journey as well, because I definitely utilize some of those experiences along the way into what I do now.
Yeah, and I love interviewing veterans as well, because it shows that, the discipline they teach us and instill in us is very applicable to the business world, wouldn't you say?
100%. I mean, one thing that we said in the Army, Wes, is we get more stuff done before 9 a.m. than the rest of the world does all day. And I do believe that because I know what we used to do before 9 a.m. and it was pretty incredible. And I really do bring that to Entrepreneur on Fire. You know, I'm an early riser. I get my best work done bright and early. By the time 9 a.m. rolls around, and I know that most people are arriving at work and going to the coffee machine to pour their first cup of coffee, I've already done a full day's work in a lot of cases, and that's just the beginning of my day still. So it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of systems that I've put in place that was really ingrained upon my tour of duty as an officer in the U.S. Army. So I could not agree more.
Do you find it a bit ironic that the more success you have, in some ways it's like it's more pressure, and you know, in some ways things get easier. But other ways they get harder because like this self-imposed stress and pressure to keep getting better.
100%. The stage just keeps getting bigger and the spotlight keeps getting brighter, Wes. When I first launched Entrepreneur on Fire, which shockingly was only a year ago, almost to the day, I was scared and I had a lot of fear of failure, but if I failed, there was going to be a very small amount of people that knew. It was going to be my friends and my family, which was going to be devastating to me in a way, but it wasn't on a massive public stage because I had no online presence. But now when I'm coming out with new products and services, it's in a very public way. Entrepreneur on Fire gets downloaded over 500,000 unique times per month. We have a Twitter list of over 16,000 followers. We have an email list of over 5,000 subscribers. And all of these numbers are growing exponentially on a daily basis. So now when we fail and when we fall on our face, which believe me, Entrepreneur on Fire does on a daily basis in certain areas, it's public and it's embarrassing. But you know what? That doesn't stop us.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest misnomers. People think, you know, eventually I'll get to the where everything's just golden and, you know, everything's a hit, and it's not. You know,
Notorious B.I.G. said it the best: "Mo money, mo problems."
I'm gonna have to check that out on iTunes. You know, I do have a little Eminem. I don't know if I have any Notorious B.I.G. in my any of my playlists.
Biggie Pops.
I think I'm a little older than you. I'm 43, so I'm big in the 80s, you know. I mean, I got some Van Halen, you know. I do a little 90s, but a lot of country, you know, a lot of George Strait. George Strait and B.I.G., that would be rather eclectic, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you kind of look like Billy Ray Cyrus, too, so I can see some similarities there.
Oh, no. After the mullet, I hope, right?
Post-mullet.
Break your heart?
Post-mullet, yeah.
I just hope, I got 4 daughters, so I just hope all are a little tamer as they grow up than his
Now,
daughter.
you know who might actually remind me of a little bit better is Blake from The Voice. Do you know him?
Oh, yeah. He's a good dude.
He's a great dude. He is a schmoozer extraordinaire. That's why he gets all the best singers.
Are you calling me a schmoozer, like in the best sense of the word?
All the best of us are schmoozers, Wes. Come on.
All right. Hey, I'm down with that. That's all right.
Yeah.
So you've been cranking for a year, but your take on this is unique in that you do a daily podcast, right?
That was my aha moment, Wes. I literally was not in the industry. I was a commercial real estate broker, driving around, loving podcasts, listening to podcasts, but always running out of content because these great podcast hosts would only do once a week. I said, you know what? Light bulb went off. Let's do a 7-day-a-week show where I interview inspiring and successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. I launched September 22nd of 2012, and I have not looked back since. And we recently had our 300th episode about a month back, which was celebrated by iTunes. They put us on their homepage for 14 days, which was incredible.
Wow.
And we've just continued to build off of that. We've just had a feature in Inc. magazine about 3 weeks ago, and just this past Friday, Entrepreneur on Fire was featured in Time magazine. So we've really seen a lot of great growth in a very short amount of time, all because we saw a unique angle and we decided to go after it. So I think that's really powerful for the listeners, and that ties back into what you said at the beginning of this chat that we're having right now, is that don't think it's a saturated market. People would have looked at podcasting and thought it was saturated. Just look at it as a different angle of what you can bring that's different and go in that direction. I decided a different angle was a 7-day-a-week podcast with a format to interview entrepreneurs to talk about their journey. And that was different and it was unique and it was my personality. So I was able to make it stand out and stand alone on that angle. And every single person that's listening now can definitely take their passions and what they see as a possibility and make it their own, give it their own personality and their own twist.
All right. Well, my own twist, because the Air Force has to be better than the Army. I'm going to do an hourly podcast for the next century. So take that.
The Air Force is a lot better than the Army when it comes to football. I know that.
Oh, I don't know, man. Hey, when I played, we were. All right. But, lately, that's a sore subject. Don't change the subject. All right. Don't. You're going to get me off track. I'm going to start banging my desk. It's only 10:14. Is it too early for scotch? I don't know. I think it's beer before lunch. Okay.
Lefroy.
So where do you find all these people? How do you have the time? I mean, that's a scheduling beast in and of itself. It's a big task. Scheduling 7 good people every single week.
One would think that is, but to be honest with you, I have my systems in place now to where that's really something that takes care of itself. I have a couple great apps that I highly recommend to anybody that does schedule a lot of things, whether it be interviews, whether it be appointments, whatever that may be. I love the app Schedule Once, and it's automatic. It syncs with every calendar, and it's incredible for me. And as far as your initial question about where do I find these people, I will say it about 3 or 4 months ago, Wes, I actually kind of hit my little tipping point where now I get so many people that reach out to me to be interviewed on Entrepreneur on Fire because of the massive international audience that we have. It's more of just me deciding which ones are the best fit for the podcast and why, instead of actually having to do the research and find potential guests. And for the next opening for Entrepreneur on Fire is into December. So that just kind of shows you how far ahead we keep our schedule to, number one, to make sure we can always hit that daily podcast requirement. But number two, because the demand is just so high right now.
Right. Very cool. So let's geek out for a minute. I had Cliff Ravenscraft on weeks ago, and he provided some resources. And of course, we linked to his. But for rookies looking to get started, I mean, what was the first thing you did, and what would you say to people that want to cut their teeth on podcasting?
Well, there's a couple things I would definitely recommend first and foremost. The best thing that I did was I went out and I got a mentor, somebody in the industry who knew what they were doing. For me, that was Jamie Tardy of The Eventual Millionaire. And that was a very important step for me because she was able to show me the ropes, introduce me to people that were really taking control in the industry and doing some really cool things. A second thing that I did was join a mastermind, and that was incredibly powerful for me as well, to interact and engage with other entrepreneurs and specifically with other podcasters, because you mentioned Cliff Ravenscraft. I joined his podcast mastermind for a full year, and that was a great step for me. As far as actually getting specific, Cliff Ravenscraft has some great tutorials on his site and a lot of great videos as well. I actually wrote a book, which is the #1 selling book in Amazon on podcasting, called Podcast Launch. And that comes with 15 video tutorials. So there's a book that will take people from step 1 to step done. And it's $5 on Amazon. And it's out there. It's available. Has over 150 5-star reviews because it really helps people with those initial starting block points of podcasting. And we have other things as well that are available. I mean, there's a growing list and number of opportunities and services and products for podcasters out there that actually didn't exist when I started a mere year ago. And the most exciting, the thing that we're most excited about at Entrepreneur on Fire is our release of podcastersparadise.com, which is going to be an interactive community for podcasters to create, grow, and monetize their podcast that comes with video tutorials, an interactive community forum, as well as monthly webinars with today's top podcasters. So there's a lot of things out there. I just mentioned a handful, but there's other people doing great things. But, Cliff Ravenscraft has been the authority in the subject for a long time, so you can't go wrong there. I personally believe you can't go wrong with Podcast Launch and or Podcaster's Paradise. So there's a lot of great stuff out there for podcasters nowadays, Wes. I'm kind of jealous because it didn't exist when I first started.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm kicking myself in the butt. I started in 2000 and stopped doing it. Just, life, whatever, stopped doing it. And fired it back up again really only a few months ago. And it's been great, but good grief. Silly man. Maybe the Army's got something on the Air Force. I don't know. So you're in real estate, you're in San Diego, you're running around, and you say, okay, I'm a podcast thing, but it's not like you make money right away. How to transition careers, to you became successful with the podcasting?
It wasn't easy, Wes, and it wasn't immediate. I was very fortunate because at the time, I had some success in my prior businesses. So I did have a nest egg of sorts to get me through those early days where you're not going to make money, because when you first start any entrepreneurial venture, you're not going to start seeing results right away by any stretch of the imagination. And that was definitely the case for me with Entrepreneur on Fire. But I was able to rely on my savings and really be a lean and frugal entrepreneur and use that runway, which, mind you, wasn't a super long runway, but it was there. There was a runway in place that I had. And really just start creating a ton of high-quality, valuable content as quickly and as professionally as possible. And for the first 6 months, very little money trickled in the door because I was all focused on building my audience. And I want the listeners to really focus on those words, because that is the key for me, for my success, was building the audience. That was so important. And I did that by just providing consistent, high-quality content as often as possible. And it was a daily basis, and there was nobody else that was out there doing it. So we really had a lot of success because of that. And I did hit that turning point, that tipping point, so to speak, at the 6-month mark. And that was really awesome and really impressive in a lot of ways, that at that point, month 6 going forward, we were able to really start bringing in some pretty serious revenue by way of sponsors, by way of a mastermind that we created, and now through Podcaster's Paradise, which is our first product that we've released through the Entrepreneur on Fire brand. So it's been a lot of fun, Wes, and we're just trying to continue to enjoy the journey and best serve our audience.
So did you have a goal timeline? Did you learn that like through Cliff's program that, follow these steps, and there at the 6-month, 8-month point, things should start to happen? Or did you say, you know what, I'm just going to put good stuff out there and come what may?
The latter, Wes. It was definitely the latter.
Okay.
There was no timeline we were following. There was no ladder that we were following. It was just mostly, listen, we're going to try to create the largest audience possible through the most high-quality content possible, and then they'll tell us what we should monetize and when we should monetize. And that time for us came at 6 months. It very well likely could have come at 9 months. And for some people, maybe it'll come at 3 months. There's no exact rule, rhyme, or reason for what industry and what niche and what audience size is actually going to monetize and when. For us, it happened to be that pretty clean 6-month mark, and we've really seen our income not only increase every month since that 6-month mark, but also open up into different income streams. It just started off with sponsorships, and then now it's moved into multiple 5-figure income streams, and we're really excited about that.
Did you go after sponsors, or was this just another case of put yourself out there, do good work, and it presented itself?
Again, it was the latter initially. We first had a broker approach us and say, listen, I represent these sponsors that love sponsoring podcasts, and they know that your target audience is exactly who they want to be speaking to. So that's how I got my first big name sponsors, like your Squarespace, your LegalZoom, your Audible. And then I was able to utilize those names and use that social proof to go after other sponsors and bring them into the fold, to where now we have 6 full-time sponsors with Entrepreneur on Fire, on a quarterly basis. And with sponsorships, with podcasts, you work on a CPM model. So that's really a per download based type model. So we've not only seen our sponsorship revenue grow on a monthly basis, but we've also seen the amount of interest and demand to sponsor Entrepreneur on Fire, which is of limited supply, grow on a monthly basis as well. So Q4 is really shaping up to be our best quarter ever to sponsor Entrepreneur on Fire for a number of reasons. And we're really looking forward to that income stream for Entrepreneur on Fire, which is going to be breaking $30,000 per month, every single month for all of Q4 for sponsorship revenue alone.
Nice. So did you just quit your real estate job cold turkey and jump this, or did you kind of keep, did you straddle the fence for a while, or how did you make that transition?
It was cold turkey for me. I don't recommend or suggest that cold turkey is the best way to go for everybody. In fact, I say a lot of times it's best to wake up 15 minutes early, go to bed 15 minutes later for 6 months, and really just continue that day job or continue that earning of income and whatever you're doing to support yourself and or your family right now, and then see where you're at in 6 months skill-wise, and then see if you do want to make that cold turkey leap at that point after you kind of waded in the water a little bit. For me, I did not have a family. I really didn't have a ton of responsibilities, and I did have a savings, so I was able to go cold turkey, and that did benefit me because it really helped me focus 100% on Entrepreneur on Fire. But that's not for everybody, and I don't want the listeners thinking you have to do it that way, because you definitely do not. And there's been a lot of examples of people who have waded in and slowly tested the water out and made sure that it was for them before taking that leap, and that's a great way to go about it as well.
Yeah, and that was my model. My journey's been a little longer than yours. This next Monday will be my 18th anniversary. We got baby number 7.
Wow, Wes.
2 weeks before we got married, my wife quit her job and put her trust in me. And I ripped her from Southern California, took her to the thriving metropolis of Biloxi, Mississippi. Woohoo!
Boom, good cost of living there, baby.
Cue the banjo.
Deliverance.
But, this whole time, and I'm a little stubborn, and, I built it on the side. I did not want to put my family out in any way, despite all my entrepreneurial stops and starts. We've stayed out of debt, and she's been able to stay home the whole time. So, I put that out for those that are listening that may still be in corporate America. You may have to stop a few rounds of golf. You may have to fall behind on some of your favorite TV programs to get up early, to go to bed early, or stay up late and get up early, knock out some of these things that John's talking about to begin your business. But, if you don't ever start, I forget who said it. I don't know if it was Cliff. One of recent interviews, I think it was Convince and Convert, Jay. He said that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second time to plant a tree is today. It's like,
love
okay.
that.
I get it. Get started. So you had a nest egg, but you took massive action, which is, I think, the number one thing for an entrepreneur. That's what makes the difference, is to pull the trigger and ride the bullet, like I like to say. Did you have any type of coming in? Were you doing like private consulting, or were you like, you know what, I'm gonna ride this pony for a while, I have an idea where this is gonna go and just stick with it, or were you doing some other things on the side?
It was a all or nothing venture for me. I knew that I was going to be relying on my savings for a certain amount of time, and I was willing to do that. And the income, again, it was trickling in here and there with different affiliate sales and different coaching gigs that I got every now and then that was all related to Entrepreneur on Fire. But until I really hit that 6-month mark, I was pretty sparse on the income side.
Right. And so now, what other things are you besides the podcast? You mentioned some programs. You have, it's just an ebook, or did you a book as well on the podcast launch?
It's an ebook that's published on the Amazon platform.
Okay. And are you doing Podcaster's Paradise? That is new for you, right? It's launching. It's an early bird right now, and it's launching in October, right?
Yeah, we're really excited about Podcasters Paradise, Wes. That's going to be something that we really feel is filling a huge niche out there that really needs to be filled. That doesn't quite have that filling yet. And for instance, Cliff Ravenscraft, who you've had on the show, has a great program, Podcasting A to Z, where he takes around 20 students on a 4 or 6 week course, really holds their hand and takes them through every step of the process. And that's huge for a lot of people, and that's really important. But the seats are limited, and it's not for everybody. So Podcasters Paradise is kind of a different opportunity for people. You know, the price point is $400 as opposed to $2,000, and it's not going to be that nice one-on-one that Cliff gives you with all those tutorials and that nice just ordered campaign to get your podcast from step one to step done. It's more of a, hey, enter this community, enter Podcasters Paradise. You're going to have access to all of these video tutorials that are going to be for beginners, for intermediates, and for experts. They're going to show you how to not only create, but to grow and monetize your podcast. It's also going to have a forum of podcasters that you can engage and get some tips, tools, and tactics, and really share that with other podcasters in the industry, exchange honest reviews, find guests for your shows, become guests on other people's shows. It's just going to be a really powerful, great commingling podcasters community, again, that just doesn't really exist right now, and it should, because so many podcasters out there are always looking to connect with other like-minded entrepreneurs and podcasters, and this gives them that ability. And then, of course, Wes, there's some great podcasters out there like yourself who are doing awesome things in the industry, and you're not on a big enough stage to share how what you do with your podcast is helping your business. So we're going to bring on experts like yourself on a monthly basis, like Amy Porterfield, like Cliff Ravenscraft, like Pat Flynn, and share with the podcasting community, with Podcasters Paradise, what they're doing specifically to have such success with their podcast in these private webinars. So it's going to be some really cool components to it. It's ever evolving. It's living, breathing. And we love that one-time buying component that's then going to take you through Podcasters Paradise.
John, my business is different. I don't know that podcasting is really right for... What do you say to that?
I say, listen, iTunes gets over 45 million views every single month from people that are going there searching for great content, for free content. Why would you not want your business to be exposed to this massive demographic? You know what? Podcasting's not for everybody. Some people don't want to get behind a microphone and share their thoughts, their experiences, their opinions, and that's totally fine. Blogging's not for everybody. You know, video blogging's not for everybody. People need to find their niche and go with it. But those that are willing to step out of their comfort zone and get behind a microphone and really try to grow an audience and become an authority figure and grow an intimate audience, there's no better way to do that than podcasting. And I could not be more excited for where our future is trending. In fact, I'm going up to San Francisco in a couple of weeks to iTunes headquarters to talk with some people there about what they're doing and the direction they're taking iTunes Radio, which is going to have a massive podcasting component to it. So we're really excited to see what they have in store for us podcasters, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, very cool. In your program or in Podcasters Paradise, are you going to get into like some technology? I mean, obviously, you publish this on your website. It looks like it's a WordPress website. I mean, I like your, from step one to done. Are you getting into that type of finesse or finer points? Absolutely.
There's really not going to be anything that a podcaster can ask that they won't be able to find in Podcasters Paradise eventually. Again, it's going to be ever evolving. So we're going to keep our ears wide open. We're going to ask the people that are joining, that are looking to join, what do you want? And then we're going to create it. We all have the skills and the ability to do so. We have the knowledge. We have the expertise. It's just a matter of finding out what people want and then creating that for them. So we're going to start off with a huge library of video tutorials that will be there, very all-encompassing on everything, all the technical aspects, all the creation aspects, all the growth aspects, and all the monetization aspects that we're currently implementing. And then as more questions come up, more videos and more tutorials will be added and included. And again, this is not a recurring model. This isn't something that you pay a membership to that keeps hitting you month after month. This is a one-time buy-in, and then you'll have access to Podcaster's Paradise for life.
So what size of a team does someone need to get this kind of test? I mean, your girlfriend started full-time with you just a few months ago, right?
Good memory, Wes. Yes. So myself, my girlfriend, Kate Erickson, who lives with me here in San Diego, and the two of us are really the two people that run Entrepreneur on Fire from beginning to end. We have a full-time virtual assistant, JM, who's based out of the Philippines, and she works 40 hours a week for us. So she's full-time, and she's very dedicated to the team. But at the time, right now, that's the three of us. We are running Entrepreneur on Fire, the trifecta. And there may be a time when we bring on another virtual assistant to run a few things or take a couple things off of our plate. But right now, we're pretty happy with how our team is set up and what we have going on.
Yeah, very cool. And that to drive that point home with people, because things, it really is easy and affordable. Well, I say easy. It's simple. Easy to build your own business now. I mean, I've had a full-time Filipino for almost 4 years now. I created a website, filipinotechsupport.com, where people can have Anna, my own assistant, screen candidates and present viable candidates to you for a few $100, and interview them, screen them. If you don't like them, she'll find you more. And I mean, I did that. I started with her when I was still in corporate America, and my own personal assistant here in town. I hired her when I was still full-time in corporate America to that transition. So, I didn't take all the money and run. I poured it back into the business until the money was really sustainable, so I could step out easily and comfortably, support a family of 8. It's not just snap your fingers and go. And it was Cliff talked about how he made the transition from, he was working in his family's insurance business. He got out of debt first. That was the first thing he said. And I love what you said, that nest egg. I think, so Cliff, you, me, I mean, we live within our means, right? And that created the foundation so we were stable enough to make that launch. Do you see that?
Absolutely. That's one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love talking to entrepreneurs about. Yeah, that's one thing I love talking to entrepreneurs about is really having that base, that foundation of solid finances, and try to be as debt-free as possible. So you do have that long runway. So when you do go through those early lean months and you do go through those dips and those valleys that we all face as entrepreneurs, you can weather those storms.
Yeah, and there's just so many things out there now. I started with an HD, one of those little flip cams, 'cause it was in HD. Then iPhones came out with HD. Then, I got a little Logitech HD 1080p, whatever camera, $70 at Samsung. I started doing more video, before I got the fan camera. But, golly, especially with iPhones now, I mean, there's no extra. I mean, people literally have a studio in their hands. If they would just take action. I mean, do you see just too many people just sitting, waiting for some great idea from the sky, or they just need to get a swift kick to get them going?
I just love people that take action. Action is really a very underutilized form that I just really would love people to step up and start doing, because you sit back, you have these ideas, you want to get the domain right, you want to get the logo right, and you just kind of are treading water while you're doing all these things that don't really matter as much as really just taking action, creating that minimally viable product that Eric Ries talks about so eloquently on the Lean Startup, and getting it out there and really start interacting with customers and with potential clients. And really seeing if this is something that will work, if there is a proof of concept, and then come back and spend your time branding and getting logos and getting your domain all squared away. Like, that is stuff that can wait. What you need to know first and foremost is is this something that I want to take action on? And is this something that once I do take action on, there's going to be an audience out there waiting for me, opening their wallets and spending money? And that's exactly why we have the early bird special for Podcasters Paradise. We have very few of the video tutorials completed thus far. We have nothing on the website is really set up at this point. It's just that we wanted to know, will people open up their wallets and pay for this idea that we have? And for 72 hours, we had over $10,000 worth of sales for Podcasters Paradise. So the answer is yes. And that's a proven concept that people are willing to pay up front for something that doesn't even exist yet, and that we said will not even exist for over a month. But now we have that proof of concept. We have that money in the bank from people that have said, yes, I will open my wallet and pay for something like this. And now we're going forward full steam ahead, knowing this is going to be a home run.
Well, cool. Yeah. So I'll publish this podcast early next week, the first week of October. So people have until October 24th, right, to lock in that early bird.
Yeah, October 24th. It's going to be $297 until then, and post that date and through that launch week, we will be raising it to $400 for entry to Podcasters Paradise.
Very nice. So how many podcasts did you have done before you launched Entrepreneur on Fire? Did you like about 10 or 20 or 30 of them so you could kind of pre-populate the site? How did you get that structured?
So I call it my summer of fire. Summer of 2012, I sat down in my studio and I learned how to podcast. I reached out to a lot of entrepreneurs and I recorded 40 interviews. I launched on September 22nd with 40 interviews in the bank. Wow. And just drove forward with that number. And I've always kept between 30 to 50 interviews in the bank from day one of Entrepreneur on Fire. Very
cool. And now Mondays are your days, right? I was reading or listening to an interview you did. So Monday, you batch everything, right?
Exactly. 8 interviews every single Monday without fail. And that kind of keeps us very steady, gaining a little bit. Every now and then, obviously, we have a last-minute cancellation, so we don't ever fall behind when that happens. So it really just works out for me and that really kind of rigorous Army schedule that we talked about at the beginning of this chat. Batch 8 together every single Monday, back to back to back for 8 straight hours. It's a long day, Wes, and I'm ready for one of those scotches you mentioned at the beginning of the interview. But by the end of the day, but guess what? I wake up Tuesday morning, and the week is my oyster, where I can go out and create other things for Entrepreneur on Fire to keep our business surviving and thriving. Yeah,
that's big advice I give everybody in any business, and that's to batch activities, no matter what it is. My foundation is sales training, prospect, setting appointments, reaching decision makers. But like anything, batch that, set a firm date with yourself, make an appointment with yourself. Don't just like you're your own client. Bang out phone calls. If you're going door to door, go knock on doors. Whatever it is, bang out your email, put it together. And I think, that's obviously a big contributor to why you're so successful, is that focus. You're probably not doing much email on those Mondays, are you?
Email gets put way to the back burner, Wes. That is not a priority for me on Mondays whatsoever. And I love to use the word focus, Wes, because that's one of my favorite words. My acronym for focus: follow one course until success.
Nice. All right, I'm writing that down. Hold on a second. Did you make that?
I heard that somewhere. I wish I could credit that to somebody, because it was definitely a wise man or woman who said it, but I do not know who.
Very nice. Well, what parting words of wisdom would you have for our listeners?
My parting words of wisdom, Wes, is first off, keep listening to Wes's podcast, because this guy brings on great guests. He has great content, and he has some incredible insight and experience that he's really sharing with you guys for free, which is an incredible resource. But my other words of advice are just start. Really, just start. Wake up 15 minutes earlier, go to bed 15 minutes later, and use that time to really master your craft, or at least get to know your craft or what you think you want your craft to be. Because in 6 months, you'll really be able to know, is this something that I want to dive in, hook, line, and sinker into? And that will save you a lot of heartache and a lot of difficult times by just doing that 30 minutes every day consistently. Get in there, do it, and then get out. And don't let it disrupt your day too much because you have other things going on. I know it, you know it, but everybody can do that. Every single person that's listening can wake up 15 minutes earlier. It can go to bed 15 minutes later and can carve out that extra 30 minutes to really become that skilled entrepreneur in that niche that they're looking to become.
Well, I think that's going to be our niche. You and I need to make a, here's what you missed on TV this past week while you were building your business. See, that way then nobody would ever miss anything and they could go build their business. What do you think?
I like it. Sign me up.
Oh, actually, I think TMZ already does that. So, damn it, we got beat.
Those guys.
Well, hey, man, thank you for taking time. I look forward. You and I just need to schedule the lunch, and just show up if you want to be with the cool people. What do you think?
I think that's the way to do it, Wes.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, sir. Look forward to seeing you soon, and I appreciate taking the time.
All right. Take care, bud.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Well, you heard the man. Just get started. If you were like me listening to podcasts in the car, at the gym, sometimes it's tough to jot down some notes, even set a reminder to, when you get in front of your computer to visit the site, go look up the links and start putting things into practice. But this is what you have to do. When you get a good idea, a lot of times what I do on podcasts when I'm listening to them and I'm out and about, I will pause it right there on the spot. And if I have to pull over in the car, if I have to pause my workout, pull up, get a piece of paper or just on my iPhone, just use the notes section and jot a few notes. Sometimes I'll lose those notes or, I'll just forget that they're there. So I'll put it actually on my calendar. I'll just scroll ahead an hour or two, find an open time on my calendar and jot that note. So it pops up as a task, as a reminder, to visit this certain website or to put this idea into practice. So I'm thrilled that you're listening to my podcast. I hope you got a lot out of what John was saying, but to really get the most out of it, like I said, you have to just do it. And there really is no need to prepare, if you will. You just have to start doing it. It's literally the Nike, just do it. I'll probably tell the story a million times before I die, but several years ago, I had some blood work done to get some life insurance. I was getting extra life insurance. I keep having all these kids. And I didn't come back at the super preferred, whatever, for the first time in my life. And it was these enzymes, whatever. Basically, I was saying, you're a little bit overweight. So the results came back the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And this was 2 years ago. And I said, all right, I'm going to lose 15 pounds. And so from the Wednesday before Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, I lost 15 pounds. And I did it just by watching my calories and a little app I'll talk about later. But, there's the old adage, if you measure it, it can be improved. So people could say, well, I'll wait until after Thanksgiving, or I'll wait until after Christmas, or I'll wait until after the football games are over, and you never get around to it. If you want to make a change, if you want to make a difference, you can do it right now. You can decide, you can pull up your calendar and say, right now, today, I'm going to get started on whatever it is. Maybe it's blogging, maybe it's doing your own podcast, maybe it's sending out a newsletter, maybe it's doing a printed newsletter, maybe it's signing up for a trade show, maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's all the above, including losing weight, spending more time with your family and your kids, going on a vacation, hitting the gym more often. There's no reason to put it off. So whatever you need to do, start doing it. Turn off the television, set your DVR. When I first wrote my book on Infusionsoft, it was a big beast. And, I always make jokes about, hey, is it too early to drink? I'm not a big drinker, but I do enjoy a beer, certainly after work, or a glass of wine. But I said, hey, I'm not going to have that beer, that glass of wine, because I was late finishing my book. And I said, I'm not going to have a drink, a celebratory drink, until I have something to celebrate. So, whatever it is, whatever goal you want to set, you need to set, pull the trigger and ride the bullet, make it happen, put it into practice. And just like John, if you listen to Cliff Ravencraft's interview, he got out of debt. And that was what gave him the freedom and the ability to go into his podcasting business full time. John talks about, he lived under his means. He saved his money. He was able to go cold turkey into the Entrepreneurial on Fire. So make sure you're living under your means. If you can't make things happen right now, look at where you're spending your money. Maybe you're spending too much money on cable television. Maybe you're spending too much money on your smartphones. Maybe you're spending too much money on season tickets or whatever. Okay, I'm not saying don't have fun. And money is really there to help us buy experiences. But if you are having issues with money, save it where you can and then apply it for more leverage to help you grow. And then money won't be an issue after that. So figure out where you need to streamline things. And I'm not a big fan of being in debt. I'm not in debt right now. I encourage people, to get out of it. But there is a such thing as good debt. And maybe that includes you investing in workshops. John talks about the mentors and the mastermind programs he joined. I list those on this podcast, so you can go to thesaleswhisperer.com, session 21. But I am also announcing, I'll be sending it out over email, a new program that I'm coming out with, and it's going to be held on Friday, November 22nd, 2013. That'll be the first one. And we're calling it a 12-hour career catapult. And the reason we say 12 hours is because we're going to go from 9 to 9. And that'll include dinner. We're going to bring in breakfast, lunch, snacks. We're going to go from 9 to 6 in a classroom type environment in my office, round robin, mastermind, limited to just 20 people. And then we're going to go to dinner. We're going to continue the dialogue. This will be on a Friday, so those that want to stick around, do some wine tasting out here in the Temecula wine country, we're going to make some plans for that as well. And just continue the sharing, the networking, and the ideas. But if you want to visit thesaleswhisperer.com/12HRCC, so it stands for 12-hour career catapult. So thesaleswhisperer.com/12HRCC. So maybe investing in that, and it's only $497. And if you visit the website, you'll see some of the goodies I'm giving away. And I'm putting myself on notice to finish my next book, because one of the things you'll get is a signed copy of that book when you are one of the 20 that enroll. But maybe if you have to go into debt to attend that mastermind, only you can answer the question if that is what you need right now. Listen to your little voice, follow your gut, follow the instinct, okay? And then make it happen. Stop looking for excuses. Stop accepting mediocrity. Figure out what you want. Listen to that little voice. Instead of some brainstorming, which we'll do at the 12-hour career catapult, maybe you need some brain stilling. Figure out how to get some quiet time and let God speak to you. Listen to what you know is already there, and for some reason you're avoiding and putting off. Then make the decision. So I thank you for making the decision to listen to the Sales Whisperer podcast. Please share it with your friends and family and coworkers and colleagues. Visit iTunes and leave a 5-star review if you would. And the same thing on my website. I would appreciate it. And other than that, I look forward to helping you succeed in any way that I can. And if the career catapult is a good idea for you, look forward to seeing you then. As always, you can get the rest of this at thesaleswhisperer.com/session 21. Thanks for listening and good selling.